All right, Gladiator Diaries, episode 19. We are back once again. I always forget to say this at the start of every episode because I feel like I shouldn't need to. You should know this by now, but follow the Instagram page, follow us on Spotify as well. Like, I know that, people nowadays, when you want to listen to a podcast, you want the video as well. We have the video on Spotify too. It's like, if Joe Rogan can do it, so can we. So
Follow
you can
us,
check them
man.
both out.
Follow us, man. Team's going strong out here. You know what I'm saying?
I always forget to say it because I'm like, people already know. Everything's in the description if you want to check it out and do it. Stay updated with us across every platform. Just makes things easier for everyone. But how has your week been, my friend? Because I don't know about you, but it feels like the MMA world has been particularly busy the last couple of days. So for me, it's been like
Yeah,
all over the place.
it's mad because my manager was talking about obviously probably we're looking about March time to come back and fight, and as you can see, many fights have been booked. There's a lot of March cards. Like I saw it from the start to the finish. There's like four March cards. It's a bit like kind of weird. Like you don't normally see so many in 1 month. You know what I mean? But like I say, there's a lot of Englishmen, people from the UK that have been set to fight as well. So yeah, it's exciting times for UK MMA. It's exciting times for MMA as a whole, just because so many fights are getting booked. So hopefully, my name will be thrown out there soon enough, which will be great. So yeah, there's been a lot going on in the MMA world, obviously, and in terms of my world, my personal world, just kind of going along the theme of last week about trying to improve my recovery and knowing how hard I need to train and what I need to do, and I'm learning even more things. You know what I mean? Like I even just kind of took some data from my training sessions and my sleep and stuff like this. Normally, I get decent sleep for the most part, and when I get decent sleep, I can perform quite well. Obviously, the sleep gets worse as the week goes on because obviously the strenuous amounts of training. But I've noticed that I probably need to do some more training in like the 90 to 100% heart rate range. Although I feel tired in certain sessions, I'm actually not pushed, like my heart rate isn't actually getting pushed to those extreme levels. So I feel like I need to get to that. God knows what the hell that is going to feel like. If I'm not even getting to that point and it's already like murderous, what the hell is that going to entail? But it means probably my anaerobic energy systems need to improve. So that is another thing that, I'm going to get stuck in. I've already spoke with my dad about it, and it's stuff that you not necessarily you overlook because you think, oh well, I train all the time, but no, like to put yourself into that insanity level of heart rate, you got to be pushing yourself to the absolute limit. So that might mean doing hill sprints, or in our strength and conditioning, like doing more stuff and getting myself like mad tired and just like to the point where I can't even move, you know what I mean? But it needs to get to that sort of level. So that's another thing that to add on to things that I probably need to improve on. And in terms of rest, I did feel better this week from having the appropriate rest, but I think again, sleep is another big thing. Sleep has to be better on certain days. So in terms of like personal training, I might have to move away from that. Um, you know, or at least leading up to fights, I might have to move away from it in terms of teaching in the mornings, because then I can't get enough sleep. So that distracts my recovery a little bit, even though having naps are great. But I think the full night's sleep is probably more important than having the nap throughout the day. So there's a lot of things, more things have been learned, more things have been added, more things have been taken into account. And like I say, looking forward to more results. I got some good training in with James Webb today. Absolutely lovely fella, former Cage Warriors champion himself as well. So yeah, we've got some good rounds. He's a good guy. We've got some good work in, and yeah, just another body to move with, another sort of problem to deal with. So yeah, it was good to get some work in with him. And like I said, as I mentioned, I hope to go to hopefully maybe Aspinall's camp and go and do some training out there as well. So yeah, man, like a lot of things are as I say, just moving more forward, doing more things. I did do a little session yesterday actually with like I guess you could call it a Shark Tank, 3 3-minute rounds with 1 minute of fresh guy every single time, and the guys were just literally just shooting on me and stuff like this. And like I say, I noticed how much I had to push myself cardio wise in order to just deal with that situation. And these are the situations I need to, in a way, as much as I need to get my recovery more, when I do my sessions, I need to actually push myself a little bit harder, which is quite frightening because I already push myself. But if that's going to make my cardio better for when it gets to, you know, a fight situation or fight simulation, then, you know, I'm all for it.
We have spoken about so many times about how when you move one piece and then like a Jenga tower, the rest of them start falling into place and stuff like that. It's so interesting that you came into the new year with the thing of recovery on your mind, and that's led to, you know, you're now in a position where you're like, not only do I need to make my recovery better, I also need to push harder in certain scenarios,
Yeah,
but also know when to take my foot off the gas in
yeah,
other moments in order to ease that. Like, it's so interesting how that has come about as well at the same time, right? Again, we spoke
yeah.
about how sometimes you almost need that thing to happen in front of your eyes to be like, okay, I need to change that now. Like, this is the signal. So to be like, to have those two things come together at the same time where you're like, all right, these two things need to change is very, very interesting that they've come together at the same time.
I mean, it's just mad because, like I said, I just noticed in my training sessions, 90 to 100% never gets touched. Maybe for like 30 seconds out of like an hour's training. But usually it sits in just the one underneath that. So the 70 to 80% is usually where I lie for the majority of the session, where that's where I feel like, oh, bloody hell, I'm pushing it. But in reality, if you want to get that anaerobic, threshold, lactate threshold, you got to, you know, there's a bit of my personal training knowledge coming out there. But anyways, in order to build those things, you need to go to the 90 to 100%, which, like I said, it's very scary because if I'm absolutely dying on that 70 to 80, 70 to 80% or 80 to 90, I think percent, sorry, then what the hell 90 to 100 is going to feel like, I don't even want to think about it. But I'm kind of willing to do that work because I know it sucks, because I know if I do that, it'll only help me improve. So yeah, I just got to get on with it.
I wonder, is there, do you think like in terms of that being how you train, right? Normally, before you looked at it and were like, oh, this literally always happens, like this has always happened. Do you feel like was it one of those things that when you noticed it, it was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Like I can literally, like, you just needed to see it, and then you were like, oh yeah, I've been doing this the whole time without ever reaching that thing. Was it like a sudden realization that
Well, I think it was an accumulation over time because I thought, you know, I'm training, I'm doing the sparring, I'm able to do the rounds, so I'm able to do those things. But now I'm noticing like certain situations, like even like when I went to Lithuania, and like, look, I was ill, so I had a bit of a flu, so that does affect your cardio a little bit. But I was like, I need to be able to go at those high intensities a little bit more, and I noticed that I wasn't able to do that. And not only like in wrestling, and it's like I feel like I need to push myself on that gas maybe a little bit harder and be able to almost have a higher pain threshold, I guess you could say. That's what 90 to 100% is just having a bit of a higher pain threshold and feeling like your body's going to give up on itself. But that's the, unfortunately, that's the kind of situation you want to put yourself in. And like I say, it was mainly looking at the heart rate monitor, and I hadn't worn it for a while, and then I just started wearing it again, and I'm just like, mainly to record my sleep. And then I just look at my sessions, I'm like, you know, I'm getting tired at this range, but I haven't even touched the range that is going to be the worst of it, like the peak almost, where like literally using every single body source. But to be able to go in that threshold for a longer period of time will then inevitably make the lower energy periods much easier. And also I notice when I run, it's the same thing. Even when I feel like this is hard, I'm running up a hill and I'm like, ugh, it's like, again, 10-20 seconds I'm in that 90 to 100, and then I'm already back down to the lower one. Now, it might be a sign of good fitness, but at the same time, I think in terms of just my ability to, uh, again, it's going along the same theme of pain threshold, is able to handle myself at those much higher heart rates where, you know, a lot of people will be throwing up, you know, maybe feeling dizzy and this and that. But those are the kind of situations where I need to push myself and try and be in there for a little bit longer, because, as I say, as the heart rates go down, it will just mean either my recovery will be faster, or my ability to go in those high intensity, I'll be able to do that for longer. So in those crazy, you know, wrestling exchanges, those crazy striking exchanges, I'll be able to do more in those exchanges, be able to put out more energy. So, like I say, just looking forward to that.
I wonder if there's like, maybe I'm trying to draw a parallel where it doesn't exist, but from your recent fights, right? I'm talking the Zach Palga win, the Chuck Campbell win, and the Tyson Pedro win as well. When the fights are going your way, your style is so like controlled and calculated that it's like when I'm watching you versus Chuck Campbell, I'm like, they could add a couple more rounds on and you could do it all day because you're fighting at your pace, right? Like
Yeah.
it always feels like once you find your rhythm and your groove, it's so hard to break you out of it. And
Yeah.
those tend to be when you're having the most success. I wonder if there's like a parallel between that and that, because again, you said that, you know, you're constantly at like that threshold of like 80, and you're cool, and you're like, this is tough, but like I'm in there. And then it's that few
Yeah.
seconds of that added intensity where it's like those are the things that maybe both in training and then as a result the fights is like, that's that extra level, that extra gear, you know.
What? Give me 1 second, mate. Someone's knocking on my door. Give me 1 sec.
All right, no
We'll
worries.
just have to cut
I'll
this back.
pause. I'll pause.
Yeah, give me 2 seconds, mate.
There you go. All right, we're back.
Yeah, because you never know. Like, you know, anyone who knocks on your door, it could be, you know, Drug Free Sport International knocking on your door. Do you know what I'm saying?
True.
Like, this is the one thing. It's like sometimes you're like, who needs to open the door? I'll just chill and like do my own thing. But at the same time, you're like, well, bloody hell, it could actually be the drug testing people. I need to be ready. I need to be locked and loaded, ready to.
We'll have to submit
to bring out my piss. Do you know what I mean?
We'll have to like submit this clip to be like, he was home, he just didn't answer the door because he didn't know who it was. Like, we're sorry.
Nah, but we're all good. We're all good. Like
Sweet.
I say, it's extremely random, and I'm very thankful for it, because, you know, it sort of keeps the sport clean, and, you know, keeps athletes. I've already seen a couple of people doing posts of them being drug tested. Like, I think I saw Shauna Bannon got her, you know, had those people come to her door, and yeah, it's crazy. They've got a good. They're obviously going to have a good system in place and everything. And it's much easier than the USADA thing. We had to write every single training session down. Now you only really have to write one training session, then you know they'll pop up to at least that one, or your home residence. So, yeah, it's cool, but I don't really say like stressful, but it's just like, bloody hell, like, do you know what I mean? We could be sitting here doing a podcast, the next thing you know, I need to grab your piss. Okay, mate. Might have to give it a little. Do you know what I mean? Drink a little bit of water. That's why as well. I could manage to get more water as well, because I'm like, bloody hell, I do need to drink as well. Do you know what I mean? Get that bladder ready.
We should. I don't know when we'll do it. We'll have to do it on a week where there's not anything else that we're planning on talking about. But we should do an episode about it, because I don't know. You know, apart from seeing like yourself little posts about people saying about being tested by Drug Free Sport and stuff, I don't know if anyone's like specifically spoken too much about their experiences with them versus with USADA. We've told a couple of stories, or you have, about your encounters with USADA throughout the years, but it'd be interesting, I think, to see.
Coming back home at bloody 6 in the morning, and then next thing you know, 7 in the morning, they're knocking on my door. That was the craziness. That, like, and I think, like I said, like we mentioned, they did it to a couple of other fighters, even during like fight week. I think that's a little bit. That's a little bit insane. So I think with this new system, they are going to take things more into account for the benefit of the athletes, so they, you know, that they can get the full recovery and they're not getting tested at weird hours.
Yeah, Yeah, it'd be interesting. Yeah, we should do that at some point. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully, I suppose we could do it in the build up to whenever you get a fight
Yeah.
announced, because I'm sure you
Yeah.
will have a trip, a visit from them around then anyway. So
Yeah. No
we'll
doubt.
do it. We'll do it then. Um, anyway, the recovery. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about in terms of the lessons you've learned and how it's been implementing them over the last week?
Well, I still find it hard to get to sleep at a decent hour just because coming back home from sessions very late.
You said about not doing personal training as much, like
Yeah.
closer to a
So
fight. Like
look,
how does that change your schedule up in terms of
well,
waking up
me,
early?
me, me, me and my me and my dad, we're working on a kettlebell system that we're going to put on an app that we're going to sell, and so obviously everyone look out for that. That's going to be, I think, it's a very different system. No one's done this type of training before, or done this type of stuff before, so it'd be nice to release that into the public. Like I say, I'm still working on it. Still got a couple of last little things that need to be finished with it, but I'm looking forward to releasing it out there. But yeah, I mean, I love my clients because a lot of them have become very good friends. As I mentioned, people have gone to Vegas with me, that have been my clients that have become my friends, and that's what I like to do when I do my personal training, is have that personable approach, have that connection with your clients, because it's not only I'm just training them to become fitter, become stronger, healthier, whatever. I'm also, creating that connection with that's it's friendship. You know what I mean? Like, for some people as well, they want to talk to a professional athlete. They want to talk to someone who's going to be able to talk to them about their things, or like have like a conversation about different things going on, and they want to delve into your life and what things, and it's very nice, and I really do enjoy that, because I think it just makes the whole thing more enjoyable. But as enjoyable as it is, as amazing connections and relationships I've made, I'm definitely going to have to step away from it, in order to get to the highest level, in terms of the recovery aspect. Because imagine coming home at 11 o'clock at night from Northampton, trying to go to sleep straight away, when your adrenaline's already a little bit pumping anyways. Let's say you go to bed at 11:30 and then you got to wake up at 6 because you've got to travel to the house, and that just cuts your sleep by by half. So the napping does help. I do think it helps to feel more recovered and to feel better. However, I think having more sleep, like all together in one go, is probably a more efficient way, a more efficient way of doing things, and a better way of doing things. And going to sleep, like going to sleep and then waking up at a more like reasonable hour, like where you feel like you're more rested, is going to be obviously more beneficial. So I'm probably going to have to move away from in-person personal training. However, I'm going to continue that online with, like I say, mine and my dad's kettlebell program, just to keep things going, And then obviously, at the end of the day, I've been watching The Last Dance, by the way, just as added like motivation as to what the greats, how they think, how they train, what they do, and Michael Jordan. You manage to almost look at how he kind of conducts himself throughout his playing career, and it's absolutely amazing just seeing how he tackles everything. Do you know what I mean? And that's given me a lot of inspiration and motivation with the way that I want to do things, and the way that I want to move forward. And um, his mindset going into games and stuff like that, I think it can be very, very transferable. And yeah, like I say, I've been doing. There's been a whole lot of things that have just been kind of coming together. But one thing definitely is that I need to. That's the thing I was going to hit on. Sorry, was that Michael Jordan talks about the endorsement deal, right? That he got with Nike. Nike wouldn't have came to him if he was just scoring 3 points and a couple of rebounds every game. They're coming to him because he's performing. So this is where, look, I go out and perform in the cage. The money goes up. The endorsements go up. People want to know about you. Sponsorships, depending on what you do in there. So it's almost like that fine balance between, do you want to concentrate on trying to make money in other avenues, or do you want to try and concentrate on making money by being the best in the world and having a bit of a harder time doing it up until that point? But you know that's the goal. You know, it's a very tough sport, but like I say, I do think you can put the chips to your favor. So yeah, man, it's a constant journey, but we're going on the right track.
I had made a note of The Last Dance because you had mentioned it when I spoke to you yesterday, and it's one of my favorite series of all time.
It's amazing.
Like, it is the best. And so motivational. I like the amount of things. I think that there's a few times every episode where Michael Jordan will say something that just like I almost want to stop the episode just to like make sure I've taken it in, because he'll say some things that are like, as soon as he says it, it's like he couldn't have said that any better. And like I don't know how to put that into words, but he just did it, and he does it multiple times per episode. It's absolutely outrageous. Like I imagine that it is so easy to get yourself hyped up watching literally any episode, because he always says or does something remarkable where you're like, this guy is 1 in a million.
Yeah, like, well, he gives you so many golden nuggets, and you see the way that he presents himself. He's got this aura about him. It's like I know I'm the shit. Like I work hard. Like I know I'm the shit. I know I'm the best. Like he's got such a. It's like the aura of confidence is similar to how McGregor was in the early days. It's like, you can't beat me. I'm better than you, and I'm going to show you. And as soon as he says, I'm going to show you, he does it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like a fierce, like sort of go-getting mentality that that definitely I want to start implementing more, because it's like he must win everywhere. You know what I mean? But this is why I think it's a lot harder in MMA, because it's hard to win everywhere, where, you know, you're not going to be the best jiu-jitsu guy, you're not going to be the best wrestler, and you're not going to be the best striker, but you want to try and blend them all together. So I guess in a way it's like, no, well, you're going to beat everyone in MMA. You know what I mean? But I think the thought process of I want to beat everyone everywhere and put myself, it's almost like I think you have to be maybe a bit more humble in fighting. You can't be so brash like you can in football or basketball, because at that level, like, you know, there's marginal improvements in the game, and, you know, you're focused on one aspect, like one game, you know, instead of here I'm focusing on 3 or 4 different games in one game, if you get what I'm saying. So I think that's what makes it a little bit harder to be so, like, you know, confident about everything, because it's like, well, I know I'm going to be lacking in this area because I don't train it as much as those guys do, you know. So yeah, it's a bit of a ball to juggle, but I think the mindset of I'm going to be the best at everything no matter what, that's the type of mindset that definitely relates well.
Yeah, literally, I had this sitting right next to me because it used to sit above my head where that UFC poster is now, the Robin Bulls jersey.
I love that. Love that.
Big fan of that Chicago Bulls team, man, and that The Last Dance in particular is fantastic. The bit that always sticks with me about Michael Jordan, of course, like it became a big meme, like and I took that personally bit where he just decides to go absolutely off because he feels insulted, and it happens like every episode where he's like, this guy looked at me weird, so I was like, no, I'm gonna absolutely destroy you. But also he does it to his own teammates, which you can do the parallels between his mindset and MMA, and how you have to be more humble in MMA. You can do that in MMA. You can just start trashing your teammates because, you know, on your worst days, they're in the gym and it's not their worst day, then suddenly, you know, you can't start trashing them anymore. So yeah, it's interesting how it wouldn't work.
I think the thought process is still, bloody hell, you're having an energy drink at what, 6 o'clock? What? No, it's 4 o'clock right now. Oh my god, mate, you're gonna be wired until tomorrow morning.
They don't. I don't find that they actually like give me a whole lot of energy. Like I am not a person that has a problem sleeping. Like as soon as I lie down, I'm all for
energy to talk to me, mate. Am I that much of a crazy guy? I can't handle this guy being normal. But you know what? Like, as an interesting fact, you know what the half-life is on caffeine? You've probably heard, no?
No, I don't.
I think it's between 8 to 10 hours is the
Really?
half-life. So imagine if you, so basically this is why I try to stop having coffee past 12, because if you imagine the half-life is around about 8 hours if you have it at 12, that means at 8 o'clock, half of it has gone out your system. And then obviously that multiplies. So by the time it gets to 10, you would have had it all out of your system. So you won't have the caffeine. And it's weird because obviously you build up a tolerance to it and you don't actually feel it quite as much. So then you think, oh well, this isn't going to affect me. It's going to be fine. But I've noticed it does affect REM sleep. But I'm not trying to have a dig at you, mate. I'm just. Do you know what? Because I used to do the same thing. I used to have energy drinks before training in the evening, and I used to think sometimes, oh well, why am I not as well rested, or why haven't I got enough REM sleep? Well, that would be one of the reasons why. And it's just, but I understand. Listen, each their own. Like there's sometimes where I need to have a coffee, otherwise I can't get through the training session. So I think if you've put yourself out there a little bit more, it will hopefully cancel out by the time you go to bed.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
you're going on a bit of a side note, but
yeah, I probably opened this at like 11. I just haven't drank it by now, so there's a little bit left. So I was like, I might as well just finish it now. But like I said,
yeah, fair
the,
enough.
the timing, I just don't think affects me too much. Purely, it must be this of I will have an energy drink whilst staying up to watch the UFC, even before working. And obviously, I need to be awake because I need to work and cover the sport whilst the events are on at like 2 a.m. Even just as a fan, like years ago, I would have one then just to, actually make it through the night and watch the full event. So, however, I do find that if I take a break from them for a while and then have another one, then I notice it. Like if I stop drinking them for a little bit and then have one, then I find that I can't have it too late because it will impact me,
Yeah,
But
yeah. Like I say, the tolerance level definitely changes once you've taken a little bit of time away from it, and then you get like the mad. Oh my gosh, you know what? There's this one place here that was near with the old place where I used to work. It's called Bagels and Schmear, yeah, and it was just like a startup brand when it was there when I was working at the gym, and they make these bagels where I kid you not. This is, by the way, this is what my sister got me for Christmas. It's quite a cool, like, little alarm clock. But anyways, this is the box. Imagine this box is a bagel. Like I don't know if you can see how big this is, but I swear to God. Okay, maybe over exaggerating a little bit. It wasn't exactly that big, but it was it's a big fucker of a thing. I was a big, bulky, fat. Do you know what I mean? And then they get the schmear, like the cream on the inside, and they just smother it on. Mate, they had all these like crazy different flavors, and they'll change it like from week to week. And then they had a Biscoff one, and mate, I swear to God, I had one of these bagels, and I felt like I was on cocaine. I'm like, what is in this? Like I was like bouncing all over the place. I was like shaking. I was like, oh my God. But mate, the crash was insane. I had that mad energy for about an hour and a half. And after I finished my client and went back home, gone, dead to life. Bro, I was in bed for like 10 hours. I was gone. I was like, what is going on here? Number one, what did they put in this thing? And number two, I mean, like that is mad. That is mad. So I can imagine that if you'd stayed away from caffeine and you went back to it, the crash wouldn't be quite so heavy. I think it's because obviously the sugar and the carbs and all sorts was in that thing. But it was a lovely bagel, I must say. But anyone who's in the Radlett area, bagels and schmear, I'm pretty sure it's not going to have such a mad effect because I think the bagels have gotten a bit smaller. And anyways, either way, it's a great place if you want to have a head rush for a whole afternoon.
Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. It's like I've had it a few times from just other things where, yeah, like you said, you just feel like wired. It's just like, and then the crash afterwards is always so brutal. Like it is one of the worst feelings. And luckily, I don't really get it. But
I've never had cocaine, but I can imagine that's what it would feel like. Like,
Yeah.
I swear to God, like like I said, I've never taken any. The worst drugs that I've taken is marijuana, and that's it's like a recreational drug. That's not really that bad, right? But in terms of any other recreational drugs, I've never taken it. But if from what people describe to me about cocaine, that's what I can imagine eating that bagel has a similar effect. So you want to get a cocaine trip without the cocaine, just go grab a bagel.
Maybe we
Excuse my
shouldn't reach out.
stupidity.
Maybe we shouldn't reach out to the bagel place. I don't know if that. Maybe they will appreciate that plug. I don't know. Eating our bagels is like taking cocaine. I don't know.
I mean, it could be seen as a good thing. Like, you know how people usually associate cocaine with happiness. Do you know what I mean? Like, that people say, "Oh, it's like cocaine." This thing. So
Yeah.
I guess going on the same lines. Yeah, I'm not trying to trash the place. The place is actually it's really nice. Like, it tastes amazing. Do you know what I mean? But like I said, it was just the vast amount of it, and because usually you can buy half, or you can buy the whole thing. But obviously, me, what am I going to do? I'm going to take half. Of course, I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm going to take the whole thing, obviously, and that's where essentially I went wrong.
Yeah. One of the only other things that I wanted to mention on this episode, because I saw you post about it on your social media, was some of the stuff that you got up to whilst you're out in Lithuania. Like, I've seen you showing up doing podcasts. I've seen you show up in a magazine. I was like, you were about, mate, whilst you're over there. Like, no wonder you were tired for the training. You were doing this, that, doing photo shoots. You know,
the photo shoot
was as well.
Yeah, like I said, I think whilst having a bit of a flu as well, it did make me a little bit more tired. I think it was good. Sergey, took care of me. He done a lot of amazing things. Done the podcast with me. Then I got to do an interview with a guy that I normally do interviews with him for, like, the main Lithuanian newspaper. I just I don't know if I mentioned it before, but not a lot of Lithuanians actually know about me as much as I thought. Yeah, there was a couple of people that asked me for photos and recognized me, but in all honesty, because I'm an English-speaking Lithuanian, not many people do know about me in Lithuania, like, as much as I would have thought anyways. So this was kind of the way to get my name out there a little bit more, to let people know about me, people who live in Lithuania that, looking at MMA, and then they see my name pop up and like, hold on a minute, we've got a guy in the UFC. It's kind of like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was cool. Like I say, the podcast was an amazing studio, which is what we will have one day. An amazing studio with all the bits and bobs, like, the microphones and everything. Is a very professional setup, loads of different cameras. And these are things that I aspire to. Do you know what I mean? Like, seeing the setup there, I'm like, do you know what? I want to have a similar setup one day. You know what I mean? So that was really cool. And yeah, like, even doing the lifestyle magazine. It's called People in Lithuania. So being one of the main magazines and stuff like that was pretty cool. And then obviously the training on top of it. So it's just a continuous building block of getting your resume out there, getting your name out there, but ultimately what it comes down to is winning. So that's all I got to do and all I got to take care of, which is why I've spent an insane amount of time trying to figure out where the fuck I've gotten wrong. I mean, where the hell do I need to improve? And in a game of inches, you want all the chips, like I say, to be on your side. So I keep figuring out more and more. I can essentially say I'm in training camp already. But as it gets deeper and deeper into this training protocol and regime, things will get fine-tuned much better. I will become better, and ultimately we're going to go and grab a win in our next UFC fight.
We said right at the start about how a bunch of it seems like every fighter in Europe over the last couple of days has announced that either they've signed a fight or they got a new contract or something is going on with, like, everybody at the moment. Obviously we had spoken in the past about how there probably wouldn't be a London card, which now we know there isn't, but there's still a bunch of cards in March that not only yourself but a lot of the other fighters in the UK will probably be targeting, because usually that London card rolls around at the perfect time to fight early on in the year, but probably get on one of the other March cards and stuff like that. So How's that been over the? Has that kind of like given you that extra like, okay, here we go, seeing other people get matched up for these cards? Because I know you were targeting like March anyway, but it's like, it's like you said at the start, so many of them are being announced. This like these slots are starting to fill up, so it's now or
Yeah.
never.
Well, yeah. I mean, the way I look at it, some fights get matched like very late, leading towards cards. But the longer we go, the least likely I know that would be somewhere early in March, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I feel like that Atlantic City card would make the most sense, because if we're talking about them giving me a contract to start a training camp, unless they give you something short notice, and for both parties to accept, they normally want to give you at least 8 weeks, right? So if we're looking at that, it's getting towards the end of January, which will be getting towards that particular card. So that's probably where I would think I would fight. My visa doesn't run out till the end of this year, I believe, for America. So, and then obviously I can just renew it moving forward. But, so I would be able to fight on a card like that, whether it be Apex, whether it's there. I mean, like I said, I would love to fight in front of a crowd again. Seeing that Reece McKee got signed to that one, I think there was another, and Kalen got signed there as well. 2 Irishmen. Perhaps we have a spot for an Englishman there as well, or English. Yeah.
And I mean, just the fact that it would be a big old night for Cage Warriors former fighters representing with obviously you mentioned Reece and
100%. So another big plug for the Cage Warriors show. Probably one of, if not the best show in Europe. Now we've got Octagon really coming through as one of the better shows in Europe as well. But Cage Warriors has had a long lineage of guys doing well. So I can imagine that will just continue to rise and continue to go on.
Yeah, I do wonder if the fact that both of those guys have been put on the same card. Obviously, Reece and Alan Lochran fought together on the Paris event, I think it was. That they made their. Well, Kalen made his UFC debut and Reece made his return. So it does seem like maybe that Atlantic City card is going to have quite a bit of, UK presence, UK and Ireland presence. I know that as well. Morgan Charrier, I think, has said that he's got a fight. So maybe another Cage Warriors alum on that card. It could end up being a whole card of just Cage Warriors vets. But
we'll no, it's mad, and it'll be great to have all those athletes on there. Do you know what I mean? Just like guys that have come along the same road, to reach that point. So it'll be nice to like get, I guess, a little bit of sense of camaraderie between the team at Cage Warriors. So and obviously it'll be a lot for the social media team to talk about. Having a lot of the fighters on there, and it will put more eyes on the event. So more eyes on there, means the more spectacular finish or performance you put on, more people are going to know about it.
Hopefully, we can't keep mentioning this because I just don't know what else there is to say about it. But hopefully, your man Jordan Vucenic not too far behind as well. So,
100%.
The final thing to mention before we get out of here for this episode, the UFC's back this week. It feels like it's been gone for ages because I'm so used to there being a card like every single week, pretty much. But of course, it's of a particular interest because of the light heavyweight main event. So I wanted to get your thoughts on Magomed Ankalaev and Johnny Walker 2 after that crazy first fight they had that ended in just strange scenes and controversial decisions and all that stuff.
I kind of thought, obviously there's 2 different sides to that, isn't there? It's going to be an insane fight either way. I do believe Ankalaev will probably win that fight. It's like he caught a body shot in the first one, and then Johnny Walker went down, but I think it did hurt him. But then he like almost used that as a fake to then try and land a shot on him, and then they got to the cage, and he was clearly on one knee. Like, I mean, it's not like his hands were off the floor, so I can see where maybe he thought, he was going to try and stand up, but you can't guess. You got to, but do you know what's mad? Because if his knee would have went off the floor just a little bit, he would have got that clean. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's a bit of a weird one. And then obviously Johnny Walker, he must have been dazed by that. And then from Ankalaev's side, he probably thought, oh, he doesn't want to fight. Do you know what it is? But at the same time, I was like, bro, you just need him to the head. Do you get what I'm saying? So both sides have their little bit of, I don't think there's any animosity between the two. It was a bit of a weird ending to that fight, but it's good they'll be able to run it back and find out who the real winner was of that fight. So I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, that being my division, it will be good to see. Good to see the top fighters, go out there and slug it out.
Yeah, it's such an interesting one, I think, because of where both guys are at. Like Johnny Walker, so unpredictable, not just in the, he can do things like that Ankalaev fight where you think he's rocked and then he flies out of nowhere like a jack in a box. Like, not only is he unpredictable to watch, when he's actually in the cage, he's so unpredictable because I don't know sometimes that you could put him in there with literally anybody and I'd be like, I don't know what's going to happen because he might knock them out with some crazy flying knee or he might also get knocked out himself, right? He's just one of those guys that it's 50-50 sometimes whether it's like if he's going to land first, he'll probably get you, but we'll see. And then Ankalaev, I feel like is such an enigma in the UFC in that I feel like people have said he's the best light heavyweight for such a long time, and yet he isn't champion yet. And that time might be coming for him because he's had some awkward delays. Obviously, that the no contest with Johnny Walker, but then the draw before that with Jan Blachowicz, where a lot of people thought that he would become champion and stuff like that. It's so interesting because I feel like Ankalaev is the guy that everyone's been like, he's going to be champ. It's only a matter of time. And then you've got Johnny Walker, who is capable of pulling off the absolute unthinkable. So completely different styles, which, should make for a great rematch.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I say, I'm looking forward to it. It would just shape up the light heavyweight, the landscape of the light heavyweight division even more. So it's good.
Yeah, should be great. I think that'll pretty much do it. Like I said, the fight world has been so busy these last couple of days that I can't even remember what's new and what isn't at this point. Like, it feels like we find out. Yeah, it's like I have to, almost think back to being like, wait, what fights are actually on UFC 300? Because they seem to get announced like every other day. I can't remember what's on that card.
And the UFC 299 card is bloody insane as well. It's almost could be a UFC 300 card. So, yes, it is a mad one. But, like I say, I'm sure as the weeks go on, there'll be much more news to tell, much more things. Like we'll be able to talk about the Johnny Walker Ankalaev fight and many more things that are going on. So exciting times for the MMA world, exciting times for us. And just keep moving forward.
Absolutely, man. I look forward to catching up with you next week. Hopefully, some more developments. Maybe I'm hoping we get some fight news.
We'll have a lot of things. 100%, mate. We'll have a lot of things to talk about. Looking forward to it, my man.
All right, I'll catch you next week, man.
My brother. See you next week.
Nice. See you next week, bro. Catch you later.